The Legend of Redstone. According to legend, during the War of the Heavens, a celestial angel who had been struck down plummeted from the heavens and was impaled on the jagged tip of Redstone Mountain. Now, this was before Redstone Mountain was called Redstone, it was simply a mountain range at the time. It is believed that the blood of this celestial angel seeped into the stone of this mountain, and the droplets of blood created these very unique red stones within the miles and miles of caverns located inside of this mountain that would eventually become the Redstone Mountains. The mountain became a major attraction as people from all walks of life wanted to see these magical red stones for themselves. Wizards sought to study them, and clerics wanted to identify them and see if they were indeed celestial blood. But any attempts to remove these beautiful, luminescent, humming stones from the caves resulted in these crimson stones simply turning into, well, just rocks. The caverns within Redstone stretch for miles, going up, down, sideways, and every direction. They say that over 90% of the Redstone caves have not even been mapped. What many report is that the further you go inside these Redstone caves, the more it reacts to forms of magic. For example, a simple light spell might turn into a fireball, and everything seemed to be heightened. Explorers also noted that their own sense of unease reached levels they simply could not explain. They were overcome with fear despite being able to see everything, despite having traveled into far more dangerous areas. They were all overcome with a sense of fear that most of them simply could not carry on. They buckled to their knees and said, I can't. And they were forced to turn around, and that is why most of the Redstone caverns remains unmapped. Truth of the matter is, no one knows for sure what makes the stones in Redstone behave the way that they do. But one thing is certain, the further you go into the caverns, the more disorienting it becomes, and the stones seem to react to the presence of people the deeper they go, and the more they seem to wreak havoc with both magic and people's imagination. All of this is due in part due to the fact that deep down, the unique structure of the redstone also wreaks havoc on magical portals, and one such portal was cracked open, a portal to an area known as the Shadowfell. This is an area inhabited by the darker side of fairies and unicorns. Here, such creatures as hags and nightmares, this is where they dwell. And it's this darkness seeping out from this portal that is both tampering with both magic and people's emotions, usually on the darker side of more fearful or depressing forms of emotion. The legend of a woman in Redstone who could not have a child, and she sought to essentially terminate her life by running into the caves and hoping to perish somewhere lost deep in the Redstone cavern. This is first mentioned in the Arrival Session 13. When she fled into the cave, in hopes of dying, she had managed to run much further than most have ever explored. This is because her mind was already broken by her desire to die. So these feelings of depression and everything else that would normally shut a person down who isn't already experiencing that, this had no impact on her. She simply proceeded to keep running into the cave and running and running and running. She ran so far that she had actually reached the portal to the Shadowfell, where she was captured and questioned by one of the hags, and tragically eventually devoured. The hag used her own magic to take on this woman's appearance, and she would appear in Redstone every few years to lure children away. And the fact that witnesses who saw this woman always luring these children away was the same woman that ran into the caves so many years ago, and she has not aged, has led people to believe that the Redstone caverns are cursed and that they're haunted, especially after these initial disappearances of children. Weird things began to happen, especially something that they call vampire heads. These are heads of the children that look a little bit older, that have bat-like appendages coming out of their ears, and it's just their decapitated head flying and wreaking terror and destruction on Redstone. So people believe that whatever is happening to these children that are being lured away, they're turning into these vampire heads that are actually called vargoyles. So this is something that the hags are actually creating, though in standard D&D lore, there's something from the planes of hell and all this other stuff. In my world, anything can basically create a Vargul if they're evil enough. And that is essentially what these hags are doing. There is a coven of 5 that live within the Shadowfell. There's many that live within the Shadowfell, I should be clear. But in the story in which the Arrival group has encountered, there is a coven of 5. 3 of them they encountered in the Shadowfell. One of them that they killed was a sea hag, and another one who was a green hag was killed by another group, but it was killed because of the group from the Arrival. So there are a number of hags, there's creatures in there, and they're all coming from the Shadowfell. So to be clear, I wanted to explain what the Redstone Mountain is, what some of that is that's happening around them. For the lore of the actual redstones and what they are, whether it's a celestial being, at this point, even I don't know. This was just an idea I had in my head that these gems within this cave had this unique property of if you take them out, they just turn to stone. So those who were seeking to get rich, to take these gems out, they would find out that they would just turn to stone. And I wanted a story that would explain how that happened. And in the history of my world, there is a war in heaven that happens. And the idea that perhaps a celestial angel who was struck down and plummeted to the world and was impaled on this mountain, and the blood seeped into the caves to create this redstone idea just fits so great, and that's what I have stuck with. So that is just a little bit of the lore that it was just recently mentioned in one of the adventures. So I just thought I'd do a quick little video to talk about it. I hope you like it, and if you do, please click like and subscribe. If you're already hearing this and it's October 30th, 2022, or anywhere near the tail end of 2022, I'd be very surprised. I've not really published this stuff out. I want to get a bunch of content on here first. But if you happen to be one of the early adopters who came across this, I truly appreciate you giving this a listen. Thanks, and may the dice ever be in your favor.